Well, Pokemon recently did its Pokemon Presents, and I was excited. I'm an avid fan of Pokemon. It's a franchise that I'm incredibly nostalgic for because it's one I've played ever since I was but a wee little lad and didn't know how to make my Sceptile actually do damage in the old Emerald? Yeah, I had Emerald. In the old Emerald file, I had Fire Red as well. But anyway, Pokemon is a really important franchise to me, and in my more recent years, I've started playing a lot of competitive Pokemon, specifically doubles, because I have always enjoyed watching VGC matches, the official Pokemon tournaments, and things like that. Double battling has always been so much fun, and that's actually why I had so much fun with the second DLC in Scarlet and Violet, because it had difficult double battles in it, which really scratched my itch for just playing competitive Pokemon. So anyway, there are a couple really big announcements within this Pokemon Direct that I thought I'd go ahead and make a video about, because, well, I can't make a Dynasty Warriors video or else people will just be mean to me, so I have to make this instead. So hopefully, this is more palatable for you. I'm still gonna make more Dynasty Warriors videos, you can't control me. But anyway, well, Pokemon Legends ZA, the newest game that they're coming out with, is probably the headliner of this particular Direct. The thing that catches my eye more is Pokemon Champions, which is something we don't know a lot about. We don't have a release date for this game or anything like that. We just know that it is in development, and it looks like it is essentially a full game that is just a battle simulator. If you play competitive Pokemon at all, you're probably familiar with Pokemon Showdown, which is an online tool where people use to just, well, play Pokemon. Test out your competitive teams and things like that. You're going to be taking to events in person or just playing on the in-game ladder, because instead of having to go ahead and raise the Pokemon, get their stats and moves right and everything, get them the right nature, you can just put all that information in yourself and play on Showdown. Now, what makes Champions so interesting is a few different things. For starters, it highlights a focus that the Pokemon Company and Game Freak have on focusing on the competitive format as a major aspect of the game. Pokemon, first and foremost, has always been and will continue to be a very casual experience, at least for the most part. Despite the fact that IVs, EVs, and everything that goes into competitive Pokemon is a very in-depth system, the overwhelming majority of players that play the game don't have any reason to really give much of a crap about it, because the vast majority of content within any given Pokemon game can be completed with just your team of whatever 6 cute or cool-looking things you decided would be the coolest things to play the game with. However, I would say that VGC in particular has gotten more popular than ever recently, with several big creators in the space focusing entirely on it, people like Aaron Zhang and Wolf Glick, and also events just being bigger and more popular. Pokemon recently had its European International Championships for the 2025 season, and it was the biggest tournament of all time with over 1,200 players within the Masters division. So, competitive Pokemon is in a really good space right now, and Pokemon Champions appears to be a way to sort of capitalize on that experience. I do assume that this will be the game that after Scarlet and Violet will sort of be the holding place for competitive Pokemon as far as the official tournament scene goes, because it seems like it is by and large a battle simulator. Now, I don't think it's going to work exactly like Showdown, where you can just input information and then just have whatever Pokemon you want basically generated for you, but I assume there will be a fairly simple way to get Pokemon to be the way you want them to be within Champions and then use them in battles. It also connects to Pokemon Home, but very clearly states that it does not transfer Pokemon back and forth from Pokemon Home. This makes me think that instead of you going into Pokemon Home and putting Pokemon from Home into Champions, Champions will be able to connect to your Pokemon Home account and just access Pokemon that are in there without physically moving them into the game. At least that's what it looks like. But anyway, Pokemon Champions is something I'm really excited about. Of course, I'm excited about Legends ZA too, because, you know, that seems really cool. And Legends Arceus is a really fun game. I'm always more interested in the mainline games than the spin-off games, but this seems like a fun game, and I'll definitely buy it when it comes out and use Totodile, because, I don't know, Totodile is pretty cool. But Champions is the thing that really catches my eye. It also looks like we'll be able to kind of mix and match some of the regional gimmicks. In the trailer, we saw a Mega Pokemon and a Terastallized Pokemon in the same battle. Now, whether that means that there will be regulations where both Megas and Terastallization are legal, or if this trailer is just pointing to the fact that they'll be able to go back and forth between what is the current regulation of competitive play with previous gimmicks or new gimmicks added as they see fit. Because I think that's one of the biggest advantages of having a game basically dedicated to the competitive scene, is that they are able to have a lot of control over the regulations as to what is playable and what isn't at any given time. If you're unfamiliar with competitive Pokemon, every few seasons there is a new regulation within the lifespan of a game. For instance, the current regulation, Regulation G, allows you to use one of the very powerful box art legendaries, which are considered restricted Pokemon, but only one of them. And then the 5 other Pokemon are basically any non-mythical Pokemon available in the Pokedex. But there were far more restricted formats earlier on in the lifespan of Scarlet and Violet that didn't let you use any legendaries, the Ruinous legendaries, or even Paradox Pokemon, as all those Pokemon were added gradually to the competitive scene as it developed within Scarlet and Violet. Champions gives them the opportunity to do this on a way cooler scale, you know? Now, it does seem that there will be at least a limited Pokedex at the beginning of Champions. I don't know if that's going to be 50% of the Pokemon that are in the game or 85%, but there will be some Pokemon that aren't available. But if you have a game dedicated to the competitive scene with Champions, you'll be able to say, all right, throughout the next 2 months, we'll have Regulation Q, and in Regulation Q, you can use Mega Evolution, but you can't use Terrestrialization, and you can use any Pokemon within these parameters, but not any Pokemon within these parameters. And then the next 2 months, they change it so something else is good and something else isn't allowed, and things like that. I think that would be really, really cool for keeping the game fresh and keeping the competitive scene interesting. Because a lot of Pokemon can be good in basically any given format, but eventually people will figure out the format and be like, okay, this Pokemon's really good, this Pokemon's one of the hardest things you have to counter, etc., etc. And being able to frequently refresh the metagame is a great way to be able to make sure that things never get stale. All in all, I am super excited for Pokemon Champions because I love competitive Pokemon. I love watching competitive Pokemon, I love learning about competitive Pokemon, and I love playing competitive Pokemon. I've never gone to a tournament or anything in like real life, but I've played on the in-game ladder a lot, especially in Scarlet and Violet, and I've had a decent amount of success doing it. I think I got to rank 256 or something was the highest rank I've ever gotten, but it's fun. I really enjoy competitive Pokemon because it's a really deep and interesting game. Doubles is the only format I've ever really paid attention to because it's just always been the one that interests me. But, you know, Pokemon Champions could probably be good for single battles as well, I assume. Now, the trailer did specifically show double battles, so I do assume that there's going to be a heavy VGC focus, which makes sense because VGC and double battles are like the official competitive format of like, the World Championships, Internationals, and things like that. So, at any rate, though, I'm really, really excited about Champions. Legends ZA as well, but I want to just get on and kind of ramble about Pokemon Champions because I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really, really cool game. I assume 2026 is probably going to be when it comes out because they just said in development now. So if it was going to come out this year, I think they would have just said late 2025 or something like they did with Legends ZA. But if this was like 3 years away or something like that, I don't think they would have announced it yet. So I would assume maybe like summer of 2026, maybe we'll get to see Legends ZA come out. I'm not Legends ZA, that's coming out this year. We'll get to see Pokemon Champions come out. We might actually get the release date for it later in the year, like maybe right before they release ZA, they'll have a trailer for Champions that'll give us a release date in 2026, but once again, I assume that maybe like summertime 2026, we will get to see Pokemon Champions come out, and it might change how we play competitive Pokemon for the next decade, so that's really exciting, and I just wanted to make a video kind of talking about it. So, you know, if you like me just rambling on about things I'm interested in, like, comment, subscribe, and have a great day. Unless you're like committing crimes or like arson or murder or something, in which case don't have a good day because that's bad.